Blues Live series, episode 15, Mercel's Disappearance. Last time on Blues Live series, Geppetto struggles with Blues claustrophobia. Mercel follows up on a lead. Carl blasts into space. Niedza is reprimanded. Christopher stopped by to have a chat with Carl.
I heard you investigate alien abductions. Well, there is a young pup who, Christopher sighed, he is in the family way. He says he was never abducted.
Never abducted? Carl exclaimed. Did he say how this transpired?
Christopher looked at the carpet.
He said he met a woman at the gym, that she was the only person he has been with during this time. I heard you were looking into the disappearances, and I thought perhaps you ought to have a word with the young man.
Yes, I think that is a reasonable assessment. Thank you for dropping by. I appreciate the information.
Shira's name had been mentioned and her address given, so Carl decided he would pay her a visit. Unfortunately, she wasn't home and the bar was closed. He chatted to the barkeep and a few patrons while he had a few drinks. Shira? She seems nice. Keeps to herself mostly. I can't say I've seen her in here, but she does take a jog around the loop, the barkeep stated. When he left the bar, he caught Shira just coming home from work. He asked her about Niedza and watched her response. No, I don't know where she is right now. She had to move and I don't have a forwarding address. Carl wasn't certain that she wasn't being vague on purpose. She admitted to speaking with Lou and that she felt for him, but she didn't see how Niedza could have anything to do with it. After all, that isn't the way things work, is it? He grimaced.
Not usually,
he thanked her. He must have had more to drink than he realized because he couldn't remember how he got home. He remembered speaking to Shira and that he thought she had invited him inside, but he didn't know what happened after that. Now he was sitting on the couch feeling exhausted. With a yawn, he stretched and curled up, then fell asleep. The next day, he resumed his search, but Mercel still hadn't returned home. He decided he would visit Pastor Stone, who worked with many abductees and their families.
No, Pastor Stone stated. I haven't seen Mercel recently. I'm sorry that I can't be more help. Lou, a young man from Moonwood Mill, pregnant? I'll have to make time to visit him. All the tales I have heard, I don't believe any have given a good description of their captors. I have heard the same tales, Carl said sadly. It won't matter how good the description is if we can't travel there and find the culprit. I wish our scientists would find a way to block the beam. Pastor Stone became quiet. Yes, but if they did, would the aliens just find another way to interfere with our lives? What would be their response? Carl blinked. That is a good question. We need to be prepared for a fight.
He had checked his phone again, but no word from Mercel. 8 Bells Bar was on the way home, so he stopped in. There he met Sal Lounge. At first they chatted about the weather, trends, and their favorite drinks, but then Sal told him about his experience with aliens. Carl listened intently. He learned Sal was friends with Geppetto and Blue and many other abductees he and Mercel had interviewed.
At least you had a happy ending, he sipped his drink. Happy? What makes you say that?
Sal expressed his shock.
You're alive. In my line of work, I have had to inform too many that their loved ones were never coming home.
Sal thought for a moment.
You are right. I'm very fortunate. I met a wonderful woman and we are raising a child together. It is a good ending to a bad situation.
Christopher ran into Niedza and Sal at the old quarter inn. He greeted her, then he began asking her intentions concerning Lou.
I take a keen interest in all young pups. He seems certain that you are going to raise the child together.
Niedza swallowed. She would love to, but Peeler made it clear that wouldn't happen. She was just waiting for the homeworld to decide what they would do to her. Carefully, she evaded his questions and expressed how much she cared for Lou, that she felt he was brave to undertake raising a child on his own. Christopher didn't like what he was hearing and growled his disapproval. Niedza jumped a little, but said nothing. Niedza returned home and had a chat with her co-workers, then stepped outside and was transported up into a ship. She was very sad, angry, and hurt. What would Lou do? Would he be all right? Lou hadn't seen Niedza, and she had promised to come over, so he went to see her friend Shira. Lou had had the baby, but it turned out to be babies. He told Shira about his predicament.
Niedza promised she would be here, but she didn't show up. I don't know if I should be worried or if I should take it that she was leading me on.
Shira was livid. She knew Niedza was the product of a different species, a species they had sought out due to their tendencies to have multiple babies, but the compatibility was, she frowned inwardly. They had turned to another species because the impregnations often resulted in miscarriages or stillbirths. It wasn't a desired outcome.
I even gave her a key, but she hasn't even called or texted. I tried to call her and I've texted, but the calls, well, it says the number can't be reached and to try again later. Where is she?
Shira hated telling him. I can't say for sure. She hasn't contacted me, though I know that she had to move from where she was. She felt sympathy for this young man and intrigued that he had borne multiple babies. Multiple babies, and all were healthy. This was good news in a way. She simply had to make time to see those babies. Is there anything I can do? She asked.
No, just tell Niedza when you talk to her that I asked about her.
After Lou left, Shira checked the map and looked for anomalies in the abduction sites. Everything seemed to be in order, and the homeworld had reduced the amount of abductions until this could be settled. Pastor Stone paid a visit to Lou. He spoke with Esmeralda Shore-Shone Ridge. They discussed Lou's predicament and how that she and Ridgely Center had come to live in the same house. Lou's job was low level, and he was struggling. He had been living in this house before it was restored. The place was really run down. Broken windows, holes in the walls, ratty carpet. It was bad. Ridgely and I contributed our meager savings to help him obtain a loan to remodel. He has turned it into quite a place. I'm amazed. Just to think that the downstairs had been a literal maze and a death trap, but he cleaned it out and turned it into bedroom. The kid has a heart and he tends to think long term. I like that in him. Anyway, we came here because the job market is atrocious. I have found that all my time is spent taking care of the babies. There isn't time to go look for work, and well, room and board is quite a boon. I keep meaning to put on a bake sale, but the babies take a lot of care. Ridley found work as a boxer down at the gym. She says she loves it, but it isn't what she went to college for. I think we shouldn't have gone to college at all. It was a waste of time and money.
A lot of people are struggling,
Stone reflected. He went upstairs where Lou was caring for his newborns. He stood there staring at the babies. 6! Wow! He had never heard of aliens implanting 6 fetuses before. 3 at the most, but not 6. This was going to be a challenge for the young man. He offered the church's help.
We receive donations, so if you need clothes,
he looked at the ragged shirt Lou had on,
or things for the babies, please stop by.
Lou nodded. He was concentrating on the babies and half paying attention to Pastor Stone.
Thank you.
Salvatore went to visit Gepetti and Blue. He wanted to discuss Blue getting involved. There were a couple of young men who had caregivers taking care of them. One spent most of his time painting, while the other tended to sit in a wheelchair and stare at the world. He was hoping that Blue would be able to connect with them, that perhaps Blue helping them would help him heal, and perhaps his own story might help them as well. In spite of a hangover, Carl went to visit the Corners. Neither had seen Mercel and expressed their concerns about his disappearance. There hadn't been any recent dead abductees, and for that he was grateful, but suspicious. What had caused them to stop? Had Mercel stumbled into the middle of... He cursed to himself. He should have just left the rocket and gone with Mercel to see Geppetto. Maybe he couldn't have changed anything, but at least Mercel would have had backup. Peeler visited Carl. She told him that she was a private eye and began to ask him questions. He eyed her, trying to decide what her intentions were. She was fishing for information, that he was certain.
I'm not at liberty to say, but if you have something to report, I'm here to listen.
Peeler seemed a little irritated, but she kept it from her voice.
I understand. It is just that I'm trying to help the families, and I thought perhaps you might have some answers for them. I'm sorry. There aren't any answers I can give them. We are investigating. It is all I can say. I wish you the best, and I hope you find the answers you are looking for.
He thought for a moment.
Did anyone mention a man named Mercel?
Mercel? Peeler asked.
My partner, my brother, and a fellow agent. He has gone missing. I was told he visited an abductee, but no one knew where he went from there.
I'm sorry. The only thing that I understand is that some of the abductees and their families had mentioned that 2 agents were looking into the disappearances.
It is very frustrating for them.
He sighed.
I understand.
I will keep an open ear concerning your brother, and if I hear anything, I'll let you know.
Thanks.
After Peeler left, Carl headed for Lou's place. The young man invited him in, but told him that he needed to take care of the babies. Carl could hear them crying, so he followed Lou upstairs and chatted with him. Lou told him about Niedza and how he thought they had planned to be together. He didn't know she was an alien, but since he had 6 babies, he did now. Shira had been very nice, but apparently Niedza had just up and vanished. Lou was a little distraught about Niedza dumping him this way, but he did want to provide for his children. Carl returned home and fixed a meal. Quietly he ate and pondered over everything. Where had Mercel gone? Who had he spoken to after Geppetto and Blue? He went downstairs to journal the events and reflect on the investigation. It seemed to have many parts, but none seemed to fit together. Would his brother be the next victim? Or perhaps he was already. Carl cried.